They stole that from me. They just took it. Deal, because this f***ing industry is a monster.
So people are still talking about Kevin Hart's Netflix roast, and now he's catching heat for comparing himself to the late comedy legend Bernie Mac. Before the roast even started, Kevin went on a bold run of comments about being the best in the business and feeling like he deserves more respect from people in the industry. He even posted this: "I ain't scared of you MFers, bring it." A lot of people saw it as Kevin hyping himself up and talking big before a major event. That's nothing new. Comedians and entertainers do that all the time. But this situation hit differently because Kevin wasn't just talking confidence. Many people felt he was putting himself in the same conversation as Bernie Mac.
Y'all done woke up a dog. Let me tell you something about a dog. When a dog get angry, or a dog gonna bite. And this little dog about to bite hard. Tune in, and I'm going to say it because I've been saying it the whole time. Remember, I get the mic last.
The reason that stood out is because "I ain't scared of you" was one of Bernie Mac's most famous lines. Back in the 1990s, Bernie would walk on stage and shout it to crowds that had a reputation for being tough to win over. The phrase became closely tied to his career and helped define his image as a fearless performer. In fact, there's even a documentary about Bernie Mac called "I Ain't Scared of You."
I ain't scared of you. I'm gonna tell you something, the rest. I ain't coming for no foolishness.
That's why Kevin's post sparked so much discussion. Some people felt he was stepping into territory reserved for one of the greatest comedians ever. Critics argued that using such an iconic Bernie Mac line made it seem like Kevin was placing himself on that same level. Reports also suggested that Dave Chappelle was among those who didn't fully agree with that comparison. What makes this even more interesting is that it connects to warnings both Dave Chappelle and Bernie Mac have shared over the years with other comedians about fame, legacy, and knowing where you stand in the game. Bernie Mac had a strong view about comedy and protecting original material. He often warned comedians about performing certain jokes around other comedians because he believed ideas could sometimes get copied or reused without proper credit. From Bernie's perspective, the entertainment business was competitive, and creators had to watch out for their work.
But ain't nobody gonna believe you, first come, first serve. I got too much pride. I can't take something that ain't mine. You know what I mean? I can't go up and say something ain't mine. The kick about going up there is making people laugh about something that you wrote. It's easy to go out there and do somebody else's material.
Those warnings did not come out of nowhere. Bernie publicly claimed that Steve Harvey had used some of his material during the period when both were connected to the original Kings of Comedy tour. Bernie also alleged that Steve tried to take a role he wanted in Ocean's 11. Those claims became part of a long-running dispute, and years later, Cedric the Entertainer suggested that tensions within the group played a role in why another major tour never happened. Because of experiences like that, Bernie spoke openly about ownership and recognition in comedy. Dave Chappelle has also dealt with his own battles with creative work, although in a different way. Many people remember his dispute involving Chappelle's show and the contract he signed earlier in his career. Dave later criticized the continued distribution of the show and argued that he was not being properly compensated for it.
That's what they told me, is they kicked me out of the office. What do we need you for? And here we are, all these years later, and they're streaming the very show that I was pitching. If you are fucking streaming that show, you're fencing stolen goods. They stole that from me.
As a result, both Bernie Mac and Dave Chappelle became known for speaking out when they felt creators were not receiving the credit or value they deserved for their work. That background is part of why some people started paying closer attention when Kevin Hart's comments about Bernie Mac began making headlines. Over the years, Kevin has faced accusations from critics and other comedians who claimed certain jokes or opportunities overlapped with existing work, although those claims have remained subjects of debate. Because of that history, some observers questioned whether invoking Bernie's famous legacy was the right move. That is where the controversy starts to get more complicated. Over the years, several comedians have publicly accused Kevin of using material that they believed was too similar to their own work. One of the names that often comes up is comedian Reggie Cush, who claimed that Kevin, or members of his creative team, used jokes that closely resembled his ideas. Reggie argued that his intellectual property was being taken without proper credit, and reports circulated that Dave Chappelle expressed concerns about the situation as well.
Who was the comedian you saw stealing jokes on Kevin Hart's Funniest?
Well, use my material.
Wow.
Kevin later responded to discussions about his comedy process by explaining that he works with a writing team to help develop and refine material. He specifically mentioned Harry Ratchford and Joey Wells as important creative collaborators. In the entertainment world, that approach is not uncommon. Many major comedians, television hosts, and performers rely on trusted writers and creative partners to help shape content. Still, critics have argued that working with multiple writers can create challenges. Their view is that when ideas pass through several people before reaching the stage, it can become harder to track where every joke originated. Because of that, debates sometimes emerge when material appears similar to something another comedian has already performed. However, the accusations surrounding joke similarities are only one part of the larger conversation. An even bigger dispute came from Cat Williams. Cat openly criticized Kevin's rise in the industry and claimed that Kevin benefited from opportunities that he believed should have gone to other performers. Cat also argued that Kevin's success was heavily supported by industry connections, a claim that generated major discussion across the comedy world.
Kevin and I had beef, and I'll tell you why. Because privately, this motherfucker stole everything from me.
Kevin's response to these criticisms has generally been direct and dismissive. In interviews, he has pointed to his long record of success and the work he has put into building his career. He told the Wall Street Journal that he helped change the business of stand-up comedy and suggested that reaching the top level of the industry does not happen by chance. He also told HuffPost that much of the back and forth is simply part of entertainment, adding that if Cat wants to focus on those issues, that is his choice. Some people may see it as a harmless reference or simply a different approach to comedy. But when a performer uses one of Bernie Mac's most recognizable lines to promote themselves, comparisons are almost guaranteed to follow. Once those comparisons begin, audiences naturally start looking at the careers, values, and public images of both people to see how closely they match. That is why the discussion around Kevin Hart's use of the phrase gained so much attention. For many fans, Bernie Mac was more than just a successful comedian. He built a reputation that extended beyond the stage, and supporters often point to his personal life and character as important parts of his legacy. To understand why some people reacted so strongly, many believe it is important to look at who Bernie was away from the spotlight. Bernie Mac was married to his high school sweetheart, Rhonda McCullough. The two met while attending Chicago's Vocational Career Academy, dated for several years, and married in 1977 when they were both 19 years old. Their marriage lasted more than 3 decades and remained intact until Bernie's passing in 2008. That long relationship became one of the most talked about aspects of his personal story and helped shape the public image many fans remember today. Bernie was also known for speaking proudly about his family life. In interviews and public appearances, he would often mention that all of his children were part of the family he built with his wife. He viewed that as an important accomplishment and something worth highlighting. Bernie and Rhonda had a daughter named Janice. Later, the family also took in Bernie's teenage niece and her young daughter, helping raise and support them. Stories like that contributed to Bernie's reputation as a family-oriented person, which is one reason some fans feel strongly about preserving and respecting the legacy connected to his name and his most famous catchphrases. That experience is actually part of what inspired Bernie's television show. The series was built around the idea of someone stepping up for family members when they needed support and guidance. What made the story stand out to many fans was that people close to Bernie often said the themes were not far removed from his real life. According to his widow, Rhonda, the caring and family-focused qualities shown on television reflected many of the same qualities people saw from him away from the cameras. Another detail that many people found interesting about Bernie was how clearly he separated his stage persona from his personal life. In a 1999 interview with The Washington Post, he explained that audiences expected a certain style from him when he performed. He said, "People say, Bernie hard, he tell it like it is, he curse, they like for me to tell it." He continued by saying, "If I came out doing Bill Cosby or Billy Crystal, they'd have a fit. One thing I do understand is this is an act. I'm acting. When I get off stage, I'm done. That man is dead." For many fans, those comments showed a high level of self-awareness. Bernie understood that the larger-than-life character people saw on stage was a performance. He viewed entertainment and real life as two separate things, and he was open about that distinction. Away from comedy clubs and television appearances, Bernie was often described as a devoted family man who valued his faith, his marriage, and his connection to Chicago. Those qualities became an important part of how many supporters remember his legacy today. That brings the conversation back to Kevin Hart. Critics who compared the two comedians often point to differences in their public stories and personal controversies. One example frequently mentioned is the controversy that emerged in 2017 while Kevin's wife, Eniko, was expecting their son. At the time, media reports focused on allegations involving Kevin and another woman, along with claims that an individual attempted to obtain money in exchange for not releasing private footage. The situation generated widespread headlines, and Kevin later addressed the controversy publicly. As a result, some people include that episode when discussing the differences between Kevin's public image and the legacy many associate with Bernie Mac. Kevin eventually addressed the controversy and publicly acknowledged that he had been unfaithful in his marriage. That situation became a major topic of discussion, and many people viewed it as a personal decision rather than something that simply happened by accident.
I'm at a place in my life where I feel like I have a target on my back, and because of that, I should make smart decisions. And recently, I didn't. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I am or claim to be in any way, shape, or form. And I made a bad error in judgment and put myself in an environment where only bad things can happen, and they did.
Because of that, critics often bring it up when comparing Kevin Hart's public image to Bernie Mac's reputation. For those making that comparison, the issue is less about comedy and more about how each entertainer is perceived when it comes to personal responsibility and character. The conversation also extends into their careers. Bernie Mac supporters frequently point to the years he spent working different jobs before achieving mainstream success. Before becoming a comedy star, he held positions including truck driver, restaurant manager, mover, and basketball coach. After winning the Miller Lite Comedy Search in 1990, he steadily built his career and earned recognition through years of work on the comedy circuit. Because of that journey, many fans view Bernie as someone who climbed to the top through persistence and experience. They often highlight his work ethic as one of the defining parts of his story. Kevin Hart's path has been viewed differently by some critics. Cat Williams, for example, has publicly argued that Kevin received significant support from powerful figures within the entertainment industry. Those claims have generated debate for years, although they remain opinions rather than established facts. That disagreement has led to a larger question among fans and commentators. Some see industry support as a sign of strong business strategy and smart networking. Others believe success should be measured primarily by an artist's independent rise and creative track record. What is clear is that Bernie Mac and Kevin Hart inspire very different reactions from audiences. Many people admire both comedians for different reasons, while others strongly prefer one over the other. That is a major reason Kevin's use of Bernie's famous phrase sparked so much discussion. For critics such as Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams, The issue is not just about a catchphrase. It is about legacy, influence, and who they believe represents the highest standards of comedy and professionalism. And the backlash did not stay limited to comedians. Once clips and screenshots started spreading online, fans jumped into the debate and turned it into a much bigger conversation. Some people argued that Kevin Hart had earned the right to mention himself alongside comedy legends because of his massive success, sold-out tours, and years at the top of the entertainment business. Others felt that commercial success and cultural impact are two very different things. That is where the argument really split. Supporters pointed to Kevin's record-breaking shows, blockbuster movies, and global popularity. They argued that very few comedians have reached the level of fame that Kevin has achieved. From their perspective, his confidence was simply the result of a long career filled with accomplishments. Critics saw it differently. They viewed Bernie as someone who commanded respect because of his originality, his presence on stage, and the way he connected with audiences without chasing trends. To them, Bernie's legacy was something that could not be measured by numbers alone. The debate became even louder because Kevin has spent years presenting himself as one of the biggest names in comedy. When someone makes that kind of claim, every part of their career ends up under a microscope. Old interviews get revisited, past controversies get brought back up, long-running industry rumors start circulating again. And that is exactly what happened here. What started as a promotional message for a roast quickly turned into a much larger argument about comedy history, legacy, and whether greatness is something you can declare for yourself or something that other people decide over time. But now it is your turn to weigh in. What do you think about all of this? Do you believe people are being unfair to Kevin Hart and blowing the situation out of proportion? Or do you think the criticism is justified based on the controversies and debates that have followed him throughout his career? And when it comes to the comparisons with Bernie Mac, do you think Kevin earned the right to put himself in that conversation? Or do you feel Bernie's legacy stands in a category of its own? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your take on the whole situation. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others who follow comedy, news, and entertainment stories. And do not forget to comment your opinion because this debate is definitely not slowing down anytime soon.